Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. We're doing the overview today. Chapter 9 and Vishamdev, the passing away of Vishamdev in the presence of Lord Krishna. And we have His Grace Ajaya Gauraraya Prabhu. And he's coming all the way from next door in the next room. So nice, and look forward to that. And I think you already know Ajay very well anyway, but just for the sake of recording, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people watching this. So he's a disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, and he has the Bhakti Shastri. He's in the process of doing his Bhakti Vaibhav at the moment, and he has read all the major scriptures as recommended by Srila Prabhupada. So I'm going to try and pass on to Prabhu. Are you there?
Hare Krishna.
Okay, I can't see you at the moment. Let me just see if I can get your pin on. Okay. Just give me a second, sort this out. Wonderful. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to pass on to you now and let you make a start.
Okay, just give me a second. Okay, Hare Krishna. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes,
Huh?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, yes, thank you much.
Yeah, you sounded not very good at the moment.
Sounds not very good.
Probably just me. Let me just see if I can do anything. I can't put with sound at the moment. Okay, let's try again.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Sorted.
Okay, just give me a second. Whatever. Let's put you to the side for now. No, that's better.
So you want to make
Okay.
it smaller
Okay.
because it's really magnified at the moment. We'll bring it to,
Which is magnified?
is it in yours okay? Is it in this one?
Yes, fine.
Okay, carry on.
It's fine.
It's all good?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, so we'll start now. Okay, Hare Krishna, everybody. Thanks for joining today. So today we're covering chapter 9 of Canto 1. And I mean, as you can see the title, The Passing Away of Bhishmadev in the Presence of Lord Krishna. On face value, that's, seems like an incredibly sad, incredibly morose situation where it's a loss of a truly great personality. But as we'll go on into the chapter, we'll understand that actually this is an incredibly glorious situation because of the will of Lord Krishna. Because Lord Krishna, he, as we know, that it's important that we glorify Krishna, but to please Krishna, we should please his devotee, and this is what's happening in this situation. Okay, yeah. So before I get into it, shall we do Radha Mother first, or shall I just get on with it?
Please do. Please do.
Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Giravardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Giravardhari, Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanchari, Yamunatira Vanjari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai. So that was the Radha Madhav when you're just singing by yourself. Okay, and I'll do Mangalacharna now. You can join in. Obviously, you don't have to put a mic on, but just repeat with me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyet. Nashtaprash Abdreshu Nityam Bhagavata-Sevayā Bhakti Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Dashtaki Krishna Swadhama Bhagate Dharma Gyan Davisaha Kalanashta Dishabresha Purnarko Dunoditaha. Okay, so actually I'll say even with the now obviously this group's been going for a while now, and actually even within the Mangalacharna explains, I just recited that just by regular attendance in the Bhagavatam classes, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. As in Nishtapraj of their Shritam Bhagavata-Sevayā, Bhakti Uttama Shloke, Bhakti Nashtaki. So hopefully that's what everybody else is. Obviously, some devotees here, have been moving a lot longer than I have, so they'll experience that themselves. But the Bhagavatam has a powerful influence. So we are fortunate that we can take advantage of that. And so today we're covering chapter 9. So what's happened here up to this point is that at the end of chapter 8, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he finds himself feeling confused, feeling very perplexed, actually just absolutely distraught, because after the Kurukshetra war, there's been mass casualties. We're talking millions, probably millions of men have died. And Maharaj Yudhishthira is feeling incredibly guilty, as in, why did we go ahead with this war? Why didn't we just, let things be as they are? And it would seem that if Maharaj Yudhishthira is feeling this way, then why isn't Krishna helping him? Because, of course, Krishna is the ultimate shelter for all of us. But Krishna has a different plan here. He wants Yudhishthira to head towards, the great statesman, his great elder, Bhishmadev. He wants Bhishmadev to be glorified. He wants everybody to see the greatness of his devotee. And so he has advised Yudhishthira to head towards where his grandfather is, well, not grandfather, but his great elder is. And so now, along with the Pandavas, they head towards him, and along with Krishna, towards where Bhishmadev is currently set, where he's currently stay on his bed of arrows, as we know. So I'll go through some key verses within this chapter, and while you've already covered it, it is such as the beauty of Bhagavatam that we can always learn something new. You may have some new realizations, and it's always wonderful to read Bhagavatam. That is, there's no doubt about that. Okay, let's start, and let's start on verse 3. Bhagavan api viparishe rathena sadhananjaya sater vyarochata nirpa kuvera eva guyakehi. O sage amongst the Brahmanas, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed, seated on a chariot with Arjuna. Thus King Yudhishthira appeared very aristocratic, like Kuvera surrounded by his companions, the Guyakas. Actually, short purport, so I'll read the purport as well. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Krishna wanted the Pandavas to be present before Bhishmadev in the most aristocratic order so that he might be pleased to see them happy at the time of his death. Kuvera is the richest of all the demigods, and hearing King Yudhishthira appeared like him, Kuvera, for the procession along with Shri Krishna, was quite appropriate to the royalty of King Yudhishthira. So, now, this is actually a very important, just for the start up, to give us an idea of what's happening here, in terms of this is Krishna's will that is happening. For he's taken the Pandavas, which is naturally understandable, that he's taken them along with him to go and see their great elder. But he's made sure that they are actually dressed very aristocratically in a way that would please Bhishma Dev, because as his descendants, he would want to see them. He wants to see them happy. He wants to see them looking, at their best. He hopes that after all they've suffered through, that they can have at least somewhat of a better future now, after having gone through so much. So Krishna has purposely made sure that they're looking their best. So this is very much being done for the benefit of Bhishma Dev. It isn't just this is more than just some ordinary funeral that's about to take place. This is a lead up to, this is very much a glorification of Bhishma Dev. And so it's starting off by making sure that Bhishma Dev's in a positive mood, that he can see that now when the time is right, when he is going to leave this world, that he's leaving his beloved Pandavas in the right frame, in the right situation. And of course it's Krishna's there as well, so it's already to have Krishna there in front of you, that's glorious in itself as it is. So it's giving you an idea how great Bhishma Dev is, that he has Krishna, he has the Pandavas, his eternal associates, he himself is associate of the Lord. It is an incredible situation, it's circumstances that you have to be blessed to be in such a situation. And not only are the Pandavas and Krishna there, but as we move on to text 6 to 7, Parvato Narado Dhamyo Bhagavan Bhadarayanaha Brihadashva Bharadvajaha Sashishyo Renukusutaha Vashishta Indrapa Mavadas Trita Gritsa Madho Sitaha Gakshivan Gotamo Trishcha Koshkotha Sudarshanaha. All the sages like Parvata Muni, Narada, Dhaumya, Vyasa, the incarnation of God, Brihadasya, Bharadvaja, and Parshurama and disciples, Vashishta, Indrapramada, Trita, Gritsamada, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Atri, Koshka, and Sudarshana were present. Along with Krishna, along with the Pandavas, we've also got many great sages present there as well. In some incredible names here. Narad Muni, who we all know, the great traveling spaceman, who's delivered so many personalities. Vyasadev, who compiled the Vedas and all the great scriptures, and also an incredible personality, incarnation of the Lord Parshuram. Now, I mentioned Lord Parshuram specifically because many of you will have watched the Mahavatar Narasimha movie recently. If you'd watched the credits afterwards, you'll have noticed that there's the next movie will be Mahavatar Parshuram. And Lord Parshuram's his own personal pastimes are quite amazing, because not only does he exist within Lord Krishna's time frame, he's there during Lord Ram's time frame as well. It's his experiences, what he's gone through, and he continues to stay on after, is quite incredible. In fact, Lord Parshuram is a guru for Bhishma Dev himself. He taught him martial arts, and I don't mean like karate and stuff, as in archery and that sort of stuff. So, and this is not just silly archery. This is where using divine weapons and all those sort of things. So, Lord Parshuram is truly great in his own right. And if whenever the next movie comes out from the devotee, then it's definitely worth going back to this particular verse, because description of Lord Parshuram's given here. So this would just give us just good to reframe your own memory in terms of what to expect when the next movie comes out. I think maybe in 2027. So as always, we should always keep reading Bhagavatam, but we can always recheck here in the future. And there's other great personalities here as well. Now, if I read the next verse, see long purport, verse 8. Anyecha munayo brahman brahmaratadayo malaha shishyer upeta jagmahu kashyapanggira sadayaha. And many others like Shukadev Goswami and other purified souls, Kashyapa and Angirasa, and others, all accompanied by respected disciples, arrived there. Now, I'm sure these names ring a bell. Of course, Shukadev Goswami, who we are grateful for Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It was his, he was the one who instructed Parikshit Maharaj, and within those 7 days, and from which Vyasadeva then put into writing later for our benefit. So all the great rishis are here. Also, you'll recognize that name, Kashyapa Muni. Again, that's why another reason why I mentioned the particular movie. If you remember, Kashyapa Muni is father of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakashipu. Again, these great sages, they have the ability to transcend, to be present for a very long time, thanks to their yoga siddhis. Not only were they present during previous yugas, from Satyug, they're still there up to when Krishna's pastimes happened. And what's fascinating about Kashyapa Muni is that not only is he the father of such demons like Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyakashipu, he's also the father of Vamadev. It gives you an idea of what these great sages have experienced and what they go through to teach us what we can learn. That's just an example of some of the great sages that have also present there, along with the Pandavas and Krishna himself. Now we move on to verse 9. So up to this point, it's just been various, there were just people, all the great personalities gathering to see Bhishma Dev in what will eventually be his final moments. They're there to pay his respects. This is no ordinary personality we're dealing with. So verse 9. Tan sametan mahabhagan upalabhya vasuttamaha pujayam asa dharmagyo deshakala vibhagavet. Bhishma Dev, who was the best among the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Now, I mentioned this particular verse because Bhishma Dev, as we know, has been lying on a bed of arrows for a while now, suffering greatly. Yet, because he's such a great personality, because he's one of the Mahajans, one of the 12 great authorities on bhakti, he is able to greet these great sages appropriately. He understands, even he's still mentally sound, even despite all he's gone through. And he's able to welcome everybody. So for his juniors, he'll give them blessings. For his seniors, he'll take their blessings and greet them appropriately. Again, this is an example for us that whatever we're going through, we should maintain our decorum, maintain our protocol. It's Bhishma Dev, who's suffered so much pain up to this point, can still maintain that Vaishnava etiquette, then that's something we should try to follow as well, no matter what we're going through in whatever time, in whatever circumstances. Okay, so up to this point, everyone's just gathered to around Bhishma Dev. Now Bhishma Dev will actually speak to the Pandavas. Verse 12, Aho kashtam aho anayam yadyuyam dharma nandanaha jivatam narhata krishtam vipra dharma chuta shreha. Bhishmadev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustice you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God, and religion." Now, Bhishmadev sees that Yudhishthira is suffering greatly, he's greatly afflicted, and now he's going about helping him to recover from his affliction, about helping him understand that he's not to blame for what has happened. This particular line, you did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations. Now you think what the Pandavas went through, the house of wax, the dice game, they went through so much. They suffered so much. Any noble person would have perished, and it would have been considered better that they perished than to keep suffering like they did. But it was Krishna's will that they keep going, because Krishna had a plan, and that was to remove the burden from the earth, remove all the impious people. He would bring them all together under the banner of the Kuru army, and then Arjun and the Pandavas would vanquish them. So they had to suffer in order for the benefit for the world, in order for them to get the glory which Krishna desired. Bhishmadev is again, he's helping him understand that this is not his fault. This is design of the Lord, and they shouldn't feel any guilt for what's happened. Next verse 15. Yatra dharma suto raja gada pani riko daraha Krishna Sri Gandhivam chapam surit Krishna stato vipat. Oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It is irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhishthira, the son of the demigod controlling religion, Bhima, the great fighter with a club, the great bowman Arjuna with his mighty weapon Gandhiva, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas. Now, Krishna's will here is explained as God, as in an inevitable time. What he desires will happen. It is not in our control, it's not Yudhishthira's control, it's not anybody's control, but his control as to what his will desires. And Bhishmadev, being the expert that he is, he's making them realize that of their own capabilities, as in Bhima, the great fighter with the club, Arjun, the greatest warrior of his generation. They could do nothing to stop the events that they had to suffer. These events they had to suffer because of what Krishna desired. Again, this is less sad. Well, this is what his situation is sad, of course, that Bhishmadev will depart from this world. What we're also getting is how great Bhishmadev is, that in spite of his physical pain and suffering, he is still mentally sound of mind. He's able to glorify where appropriate, and he's able to provide sage advice to Yudhishthira, help him understand that this is Krishna's will. You must, and you're fighting on behalf of Krishna. So you cannot be considered wrong. You are doing what is right because what Krishna desires is naturally correct. Move on to verse 18. Keshava Bhagavan Sakshad Adyo Narayana Puman Mohayan Mayaya Lokam Gudascharati Vishnishu. This Shri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the supreme enjoyer, but he's moving amongst the descendants of King Vishnu just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. Now, if there was any confusion as to what Bhishmadev taught of Krishna, this verse proves that Bhishmadev is fully aware that Lord Krishna is a supreme original personality Godhead. He is a supreme personality Godhead. He has proven so by referring to him as Bhagavan Sakshad, the original personality of Godhead. He refers to him as the first Narayana. So everything, he is the source of all incarnations. Now, obviously the famous verse, Ete Chamshar Kalapum Sa Krishna Bhagavan Swayam. This is Bhishmadev. He's showing leaving no doubt that he's a devotee of the Lord, a pure devotee of the Lord. And so, as is Yudhishthira and as are the Pandavas, they are all great devotees of the Lord. He's reminding him in whose presence he is. And he's also showing everyone his own expertise, that he's able to advise Yudhishthira and at the same time glorify Krishna at the same time. Something we should always do, glorifying the Lord. We glorify the Lord, we cannot go wrong, because that will inevitably lead us to the right path in whatever situation we're in. When we think of Krishna, we are also directed towards what is best for us. And that is just another example of the greatness of Bhishma Dev. Okay, the next verse, verse 22. Tatapi ekanta bhakteshu pasya bhumanu kampita yanme sams tyajita sakshat Krishna darshanam agataha. Yet, despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I'm ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. Again, the greatness of Bhishma Dev. He's showing us again what we need to be doing. He knows Bhishma Dev's time is coming to an end soon. So what is he doing? He's glorifying the Lord. He's trying to focus his mind on the Lord. Whenever we are in dangerous situations, we should focus our mind on the Lord. We do not know how long we have here as such, whether we're 5 years old, 50 years old, whatever. In all situations, we should focus our mind on the Lord. Now, it might sound a bit worrying, the situation I've presented, but essentially, if we focus on the mind of the Lord at all times, think and act for the Lord, then we are behaving as a pure devotee. That is effectively what we're all trying to be, essentially. That's what we're aiming for, to be a pure devotee. So we need to practice this. We try now. The fact that we're all here, we listen to Bhagavatam. It shows that we're trying at least. That's positive. Now we need to get into the habit where when we're dealing with extreme situations, sad or happy, we're still thinking of Krishna. Just like Bhishma Dev, we need to focus our mind on Krishna. We focus our mind on Krishna. Krishna focuses on us more. Krishna's already focused on us because we're hearing Bhagavatam, we're reading Bhagavatam. We can say for ourselves, at the very least, Krishna takes some interest in us. Now we need to give Krishna more reason to take interest in us by showing that our sincerity, by showing that we are genuinely interested in helping ourselves, helping others understand what is right for us. That is our devotional relationship with the Lord. Okay, now from 25 to 28, Bhishma Dev provides some instructions to Yudhishthira in terms of how he should rule. I'll read one verse and then I'll explain what we can take out of that as such. Sutavacha Yudhishthirastad Acharya Shayanam Shara Panjare Africha Vividan Dharman Rishinam Chanushin Vatam. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthira, after hearing Bhishma Dev speaking the opinion tone, asked him in the presence of all the great rishis about the essential principles of various religious duties. So as we know, Yudhishthira is a great king. He will take over as king of the entire world. Naturally, then, that Bhishma Dev will educate him all sorts of matter, from how to deal with his citizens, deal with sages, so Rajsam, Moksha, all sorts of things like these. How can this be applicable to us? All of these instructions, Bhishma Dev, they lead to one major thing. That is understanding real Varnashram Dharma, and that is self-realization. What is self-realization? Understanding we are part and parcel of the Lord, we are his eternal servant. Whatever you're doing, whichever social group you belong to, whichever spiritual group you're following, so wherever we fall within the Varnashram Dharma, ultimately it's about developing your relationship with the Lord. It is not about who's better than who. I mean, these days we tend to have a negative, say, for example, if somebody's referred to someone as Shudra, that's a negative connotation. It shouldn't be that way. No group should be trying to pose their superiority over others. It's all about working together to please the Lord. If you're trying to show your own superiority, then you are in fact not pleasing the Lord. You're trying to glorify yourself. And that's where you're going wrong. That's where a great king like Yudhishthira, he understands that he needs to make sure everybody's on the right track, that everybody is looking to glorify the Lord, everybody's working to please the Lord. And that is why he will have a great kingdom, because he's what we understand as a saintly king. He will ensure that his praja will understand what they need to do, and understand naturally the Lord being pleased, he will provide all resources for them to prosper. And that's what we can do. If we work together, we help each other, we help the world, then naturally the world will become a more better place. Now, there'll still be issues because this is the material world, so there has to be some suffering as such, but it won't be so bad. We're better because we're all working together, and then it'll be easier for us as well to, when the Lord desires, we go back to Godhead. Now, there will be challenges, as we all know, but we need to just keep doing what we can do. We do what we can do best, then Krishna will take care of the rest. And this is what it's effectively what Yudhishthira is being educated on by Krishna. Okay, next verse 32. Let's give me a moment. A lot of verses to get through. Okay. Now, by this point, Bhishma Dev is becoming aware now that his time for leaving this earthly realm is upon him. So now he'll start focusing he's already focusing on Krishna, but now he's really now he'll really begin to focusing on the Lord, because he knows that now it's time for him to move on from this, to go back to Godhead. Shri Bhishma Vacha iti mati upakalpita vitrishna bhagavati satvata pungave vibhamni swasukham upagate kvachid vihartum prakritim epe yad bhava pravaha. Bhishma Dev said, "Let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which was so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created." Now, Bhishma Dev, rightly so, is focusing on Lord Krishna, understanding that his time on earth is ending soon. Again, this is a great example for us, because we always complain that our mind is flickering. We have suffering with this situation. We have so many things we have to go through. But think what Bhishma Dev had to go through. Such a long life he lived, such an important position he held. Not only was he in charge of the army, he was the top advisor to the king. He was the elder statesman. He was effectively king in all but name at times. He was the focal point for Hastinapur, for the world, for such a long time. A Mahajan, no less. A great personality. So much will be running through his mind at that time. He's a leader among leaders. Yet, he understands that that now he needs to do what is best for him, what is appropriate, and that is to focus his mind on Krishna. That's what we need to be able to do. We have all got all our own responsibilities. Some of us will have great responsibilities. I'm sure you've all gone through difficult situations. You all will be going to difficult situations all the time. To some level, everybody's suffering at some point. That's just inevitable. We need to be able to focus in on Krishna, though. Now, if we can focus on Krishna, then we get the solution. I've already mentioned that before, but if Bhishma Dev, now granted, he's a far greater personality than any of us, but his responsibilities are far greater than us as well. His suffering was far greater than us. He's lying in a bed of arrows. If he can do it, we can do it. We just need to follow his example, follow in his footsteps, as we always do, like we follow with our gurus, we follow with Prabhupada, we follow in their footsteps. We don't follow it like for like, we follow the principle. And here, if you follow the principle of the great Bhishmadev, we too can gain freedom from whatever is afflicting us. Because when we think of Krishna, whatever suffering we are suffering, that it becomes reduced. In fact, if you see many devotees, they'll come to a temple or such, they'll be complaining, oh, I got this problem, that problem. Then the arti starts and they're full of bliss. That is the importance of the association of Krishna. We take his association, our problems, they go away. Okay, I'll move on to the next verse, verse 37. Swanigamam apahaya mat pratigyam ritam adi kartam avapluto ratastaha rita ratha charna bhyayat chaladbhur haririva hanto vibham ghato tarayaha. Fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran towards me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. Now, this is the wonderful pastime of the Lord with Bhishmadev himself. So by this point, Bhishmadev is fully locked in, focusing on the Lord himself. Now he's thinking of the time, he's actually thinking of the time during the battle itself, the battle of Kurukshetra. As in, Duryodhana at the time was chastising Bhishmadev that you're favoring the Pandavas, they're your favorites, you don't want to kill them. So Bhishmadev says, okay, fine, I will take 5 special arrows, and then the next day of battle, I will vanquish all the Pandavas. And Bhishmadev, being such a great warrior, powerful warrior, he had the ability to do so. If Krishna wasn't there, then the Pandavas would be no match for Bhishmadev. However, Krishna, being brilliant as he is, he would create a situation where he would take the arrows from Duryodhana, because Duryodhana actually, he actually was clever actually for him to take the arrows from Bhishmadev, because he made sure that he took responsibility for them. He showed that the next day of battle, that in his head, he thought, I would have the arrows on me, I could give them to Bhishmadev, and then we could finish this war because we could get rid of the Pandavas. But Krishna making sure that nothing will happen to his beloved Pandavas. So he sends Arjun over to Duryodhana, and Duryodhana had made a promise to Arjun previously that I'll grant any promise you want whenever just come to me and ask. So Krishna, being all-knowing, all omniscient, he sends Arjun over to Duryodhana's camp. But Duryodhana is quite happy to see him, actually. He thinks, oh, hey, Arjun, how you doing? Welcome. What can I do for you? And then Arjun, as instructed by Krishna, he asks for the 5 arrows that Bhishmadev would use to vanquish them. Hence, in that way, and Duryodhana, in this instance, we always criticize Duryodhana, but Duryodhana, he gave the arrows to Arjun. It wasn't like somebody of these days and age. It was somebody this day and age. They would probably give him fake arrows, just trying to, make sure we win the battle. But Duryodhana had that much integrity about him. He actually gave the arrows that Bhishmadev had that were a threat to the Pandavas. So at this point then, that Bhishmadev was actually reminiscing such a wonderful situation that the Lord himself would go out his way again, glorification of, he's glorifying, not only to protect the Pandavas, he's glorifying Bhishmadev, that Bhishmadev is such a threat that I have to use trickery to save my great devotees, the Pandavas, from such a terrible situation. And then, but Bhishmadev though had said that he would make sure that Krishna would take up weapons during the battle. Hence later on, Bhishmadev would attack the Pandavas with such force, it forced Krishna to lift the wheel and then run towards Krishna, run towards Bhishmadev. Now, what's important about this more than the actual pastime itself is that Krishna has broken his own vow to fulfill the vow of his devotee. Now think about that, the Lord breaking his own vow. This isn't some ordinary person making a vow, this is Krishna himself making a vow. But Krishna prioritizes his own devotees before himself. He wants to make sure his own devotee's vow is protected, so he breaks his own vow. So by this point, Bhishmadev is so grateful, because he's relishing the Lord in the mood of chivalry. He's so grateful that Krishna would give such importance to him that he would break his own vow during the battle itself. And this is what Krishna does when he looks after his devotees, and the purer you are, the more he looks after you, because you look after him more as well. You take care of his children, which is us, the souls. You make sure that his desires taken care of. That is to spread bhakti. And again, just an incredible situation, incredible circumstances that are possible when we take shelter of Krishna. Okay, verse 39. Vijayratha kutumba tatotre dritahaya rashmani tachtriye kshaniya Bhagavati ratir astu me vamurvishur yam iha niraksha hata gataha swarupam. At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction to be Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver Arjuna, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, and was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death. Now, as I've kept repeating, Bhishma Dev understands his time is coming soon. Now he is completely focusing on the form of the Lord that he finds most attractive. That is the Parthasarathi form of the Lord. Now that form of the Lord, Bhishma Dev more than anyone enjoyed in particular, even more than Arjun, because as you understand, Krishna was his charioteer, so Arjun would be behind Krishna, so he wouldn't be able to see Krishna in his full glory as such. But Bhishma Dev, when fighting Arjuna, could see Krishna fully. He could see Krishna in the charioteer form, fully engrossed within the battle itself. This form in particular was the form of the Lord that particularly attracted Bhishma Dev, because he was a great warrior himself, and so he enjoyed the rasa of chivalry as such. And again, I keep saying it, but it's important. We need to just see how the way Bhishma Dev is focusing on Krishna. He's actually, in fact, has the form of Krishna that he desires, focus in on. Now we tend to say, think of Krishna. Well, in this case, think of a form of Krishna as well. Think specifically, what form of Krishna do you particularly attracted to? What is it that inspires you about Krishna? What can you do? What can you think? How do you think of Krishna? What pastimes do you think of Krishna that particularly inspire you? Then if you think of this way, then you're actually going deeper. It's not just, just think of Krishna, think of the name as such. Go deeper into it. Think about Krishna properly. Think about what Krishna means to you, what Krishna has done for you, what you want to do for Krishna. All these things are so important, and especially when your time will eventually come, you need to be thinking of Krishna. We all know these things. We need to be thinking of Krishna near the time of death. And we think, it's all fine and good. We'll chant, we'll be good, we'll do our bhakti, Krishna will take care of everything. But we have to be serious about it as well. Because we're serious about Krishna, Krishna is serious about us. And that is the key. So just like Bhishma there, we need to be serious about our bhakti. Okay, so now we've got to the point now that Bhishma Dev has completely focused on the Lord, and now he will be departing from this world. Move to verse 44. Sampadyamanam agaya Vishwam Brahmani Nishkale Sarve Bhavuste Tushnim Vayam Sivadhinatyaye Knowing that Vishwadev had merged into unlimited eternity and supreme absolute, all present there became sound like birds at the end of the day. Now, Vishwadev, not only had he advised Yudhishthira and helped him overcome his affliction to make sure that he was fit to rule after he would leave, he had taken full advantage of the association, having Krishna there himself there personally. He was focused in the Lord. And even though Vishwadev is such a great devotee, Krishna would never let him go, let him go astray at the last moment. He made sure he did everything right. He made sure his mind was fully focused on the Lord. He was glorifying the Lord. And as such, he'd go back to Godhead. In his case, he would go back to where Krishna predominates in the Vaikuntha Lok, where Krishna predominates at Parthasarthi form, because that's the form of the Lord that he had focusing on. Now, naturally, as it says, all present became silent like birds at the end of the day. Naturally, they're all sad. Of course, they're all sad because they're losing their great elder. Their truly great personality has left the world at this time. Naturally, there's great sadness of what's happened. But as is the case with the great devotees, when they leave, there's sadness they have left. But there's a joy as such that we know they're heading to somewhere better. In this case, Vishwadev is going back to Godhead. That is the great blessing that the great devotees have. So it's a mixed reaction in that sense. We're sad to lose them because such great personalities don't always come about very often. But we are pleased for them because we know Krishna's taking care of them. And that is the case, of course, with such a great personality like Vishwadev. Okay. Finally, I'll cover verse 48. Tato yudhishthiro gatva saha Krishna gajahavayam pitaram santvayam asa gandharim cha tapasvinim. Thereafter, Maharaja Yudhishthira at once went to his capital Hastinapura, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and there he consulted his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic. And so at this point, all the funeral rites have been done. Everyone has paid their respects to the great Bhishmadeva. Now, if you see, though, Yudhishthira, he is now focusing as the great saintly king as he is, and now he's consoling his uncle Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Now, the reason I point this out is that Dhritarashtra was just to blame as much as Duryodhana for all the sufferings that the Pandavas have gone through. If he would be perfectly entitled to be angry towards Dhritarashtra. If he had kicked Dhritarashtra out of the kingdom, nobody would have been said anything, oh, you're doing wrong, you're doing this, as such, because, unless, of course, it's the great personalities, but they know better. But general people wouldn't have felt sorry for Dhritarashtra because he was to blame for all the great tragedies the tragic losses that had happened as such. So, just the sheer magnitude of all this suffering, he had to take blame. Now we all know it's Krishna's will that everything happens, but Dhritarashtra's foolishness led to this situation. If you just let Yudhishthira be in charge, as would be appropriate, this could have all been averted. But Dhritarashtra was not only physically blind, but mentally blind. But this didn't mean, though, that Maharaj Yudhishthira lost his vision. Rather than chastising or being angry towards his uncle and aunt, he consoles them. Being the great king that he is, he ensures that they are taken care of as well. Because he knows that having taken on this great responsibility, he has to lead as Krishna desires, because he is a representative of Krishna. That is what a king should be, a representative of the Lord, not fulfilling his own desires, fulfilling his own selfish wants. He's just doing what Krishna desires. Because when you do what Krishna desires, you're doing the right thing, and then you are taken care of as well. And that is what he would preach to everyone who is under his rule. And that is why he's such a great king of his time. That's why it's a great example, not only for them, but for now as well. And that is why we read these great scriptures, especially that's what Pandavas are celebrated, because not only were they eternal associates of the Lord, but they followed his teachings, what he wanted, and that's what we need to do as well. Okay, I'll finish there. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Jai Prabhu. You want to stop sharing and then we can have a chat?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. And yes, thank you for a wonderful class. That was quite enlightening. And what you mentioned about Duryodhan, it's so true that his father was just as much to blame as he was, and his maternal uncle as well. So they had been influenced on his upbringing, his mental state. Although when we find disagreeable people, we say they are Duryodhan, right? We've heard that so many times. Compare them to Duryodhan, but it wasn't just Duryodhan's fault. There's elders in his life that influenced him, which he was influenced more by Pitama, by the grandsire. Then he might have been a different person, but he never listened to Pitama. And you see Mahabharata, and you see that Pitama says that, why don't you ever listen? Because he never listened to him. He was so overpowered by the mentality of his father and of his uncle as well, his mama. So yeah, so shame, but Duryodhan did go back to Godhead after getting a good beating. He was sent back, so at least he was better in that way than his uncle and his father. So that goes to show that he had some good in him somewhere, that Krishna allowed him to do that. Anyway, please ask questions. Have your questions ready? For Jaya, I'll ask the first question while you're thinking. Now, my question is we find that you mentioned about how Duryodhan, he was, about Vishamdev, how he welcomed the seniors and the juniors, appropriately, while he's lying on the bed of arrows. And I'm thinking you mean in age-wise as well. You talk about the age, right?
Well, actually, age-wise taken into account as well, but actually in this case it would be age-wise as well, because a lot of naturally gurus will be older than them as well. So, but even then, the sages I suspect most of the sages they were older than him anyway. But naturally,
different yugas, so
yeah,
naturally. So this is the thing that we find in today's society, that especially in terms of spirituality, especially in say, we take Iskcon for example, that we are so obsessed with the high stand in spirituality that we will give more respect to people who are in higher standing in spirituality from us, whether they're younger or old, that we forget to respect our elders, people who are in age. That respect is forgotten. Just don't even care that they are our elders. They're like a father, they are like a grandfather. That respect is diminished, but just because we're focusing too much on, is this person more spiritually elevated than me, then I'll respect him. If he's not, then I won't respect him, even though he's could be twice my age. So what's your opinion on that?
It's interesting actually, because traditional, well, as I say traditional, as in within the past 100 years or so, the thought was that you respect your elders no matter whatever the behavior is as such. Even if behaving ridiculously, you respect them. Now more recent times, especially within Iskcon, well, not necessarily, but sometimes within Iskcon, but sometimes just within, you might find some places with devotees, is so that like you said, sometimes there's no respect given to elders whatsoever. Now the default should be that if you were to act as a Vaishnava, you should give respect to everyone, full stop. Even if it's a junior, you shouldn't be behaving badly with them as such. You still should be acting. Now you could be more, if it's the case, if it's a junior, you try to help them. If it's your peer, you can you can act a bit more playfully, but obviously don't, try and cross any line as such. And if it's your senior, then you're very respectful. But there should be naturally respect anyway. It's a fellow devotee as such. And even if it's somebody new, you look at them as a devotee in the making. The respect should be there as such. Now, in regard to elders, they should receive respect, unless, of course, they're behaving in a bad manner. Then you can start maybe, then you need to take action, because age shouldn't be a reason for someone to act foolishly as such. So that's where it's been too much of a shift. It's gone from just because you're old, you can do whatever you want to, or if you're older, you're getting no respect. There should be a balance there as such. You should be respectful towards them. But by the same token, if you're a senior in age, then you should understand that you should be setting an example. You shouldn't be if you're behaving nicely, then everybody else will follow example. If you behave badly, then it's understandable others behave badly with you. So yeah, it's a case of finding the right balance. Unfortunately, people can't. There tend to be extremes. You either go from very good to very bad. Whereas if you just try and behave, just start trying to be respectful from the beginning, and then work your way as you get to know the person, and then you can modify your behavior as appropriate.
Sure, thank you, Prabhu. So it's a matter of finding the balance, really, and obviously the behavior of the other person. Same like a husband and wife. There's so much mention of the wife should do this, wife should do that, but then the husband has to be the husband as well. He has to be the ideal husband if he wants the ideal wife. Is that kind of scenario, isn't it, really? So both sides
Yes.
have to be agreeable or
Yeah.
at the same level.
Yes. This thing is, you got to understand your responsibility. It's like say like a parent and a child. If you behave like a child, then your child has every right to treat you like a child. But if you behave like a parent, then your child can take you seriously. And likewise, the child shouldn't behave. If your child behaves badly all the time, then the parent has every right to be angry with the child and not want to give affection. There has to be actually a better example that would be guru and disciple. Now the disciple takes initiation, so effectively he's taking protection from the guru, such taking his shelter. But if you breaking the vows, you're behaving abominably, the guru has no obligation to give you his protection anymore, because you're no longer being disciple, because you're no longer following discipline. You need to be living disciplined life as a disciple. So you need to understand what your responsibilities are in whether you are the senior or the junior, and then if you understand that thing, then things tend to become easier, really.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Okay. Anybody would like to ask a question? Kiran Prabhu, Pundikaks Prabhu.
The question, I think Kiran Prabhu's put a question in. Can you please clarify and explain why Bhishma, the greatest of all statesmen, failed to respond during the great insult to a woman of disrobing Draupadi? Yeah. So yes, I think after you look at it just from the situation itself, it's shocking that why would Bhishma Dev not respond? But this is an example way of putting your own vow before actual true morality. Never mind that Draupadi was, was family as such. It was, she was like a child to, she was like one of his children in that sense. She was under his protection. She looked after, to her, he was her great elder as well. But if this was an example of where Bhishma Dev had put his own vow before what is actually correct, because even never minding the relationship, if Bhishma Dev had looked at Draupadi as a devotee, he would have broken his vow, and he would have, he would have stopped the situation right then. He might have even slain the Duryodhana and all the rest of them. But such situations happen because not only because it's but the Lord desires that's the thing. The Lord desires that certain situations happen because he'd wanted the Mahabharata war to happen. He'd wanted many of the impious kings and everybody to line up for the Kauravas so they could all be vanquished at one time. And that's why even such a great personality like Bhishma Dev failed to respond to what he understood. He knew he had done wrong afterwards. But he would have to, he ultimately would have to suffer with the Kauravas as well, because with Bhishma there is a situation where his example would be that he would show that no matter how great the warrior, if you are fighting for the wrong side, then you will fail as well. If you're against Krishna's will, or against what is right, then you will fail as well. So Bhishma Dev, in this case, combination of not following correct morality, in terms of he should have defended Draupadi, he should have broken his vow there and then, and it was also the Lord's will. Because ultimately Bhishma Dev, he had Ichha Mrityu as such. He could die at any time. He was so dedicated to Hastinapur. I don't think he would ever given up his role. So he had to be pushed to the side of it. Eventually, all these great personalities like Bhishma Dev, Acharya, they had to go eventually. The Lord creates a situation where they are eventually, through God himself, they have to be pushed out the way. Again, it seems, you think, why would Bhishma Dev do such a thing? But it's the Lord's will. The Lord does create a situation that they had to be put in the guilty party as such. And then it was appropriate for them to be, in this case, vanquish is an incorrect term for Bhishma Dev, but then he would be defeated as such. I hope that answers your question, Kiran Prabhu.
Thank you. That really does help. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, this is what happens. Sometimes we are tied by our duties, our vows, our responsibilities, like that, that we just get tied up so hard. Our mentality is like just focus on there that we forget, that we see that as a priority than to anything else. Yes, thank you. Anybody else? Ashok Prabhu? Okay. Okay, we can end if there's no other questions. I don't know if anybody else wants to ask.
I don't mind putting an elephant in the room.
Okay.
Okay.
If Bhishma Dev was here and there's an ideology that says that there is only one God, there's only one faith, and everybody else is a non-believer, or they have a different word for it, which is a very insulting word, how would Bhishma Dev advise us to deal with this?
This is an interesting question as such, because Bhishma Dev, by his nature is warrior as such. So on the one hand, he would try to be wise with the situation. On the other hand, he isn't one to let foolishness just pass. I think there's a reason why Bhishma Dev is not here today as such, because he could single-handedly wipe out any demonic person. That's why we don't have such powerful warriors within Kali Yuga, because unfortunately this is the age of quarrel as such. They wouldn't first they were trying to advise you nicely as such, but they wouldn't what you call tolerate foolishness or any insult against the Lord as such. So that's why they belong to their particular time and we belong to this particular time. This is the age of quarrel. So this is the age of foolishness. This is the age of nonsense as such. That's why we have Mahaprabhu coming as his own devotee. He's not he's giving us some kirtan yagya. We try to win the minds of others through through the holy name of the Lord. Yeah, Bhishma Dev is, again, it's everyone belongs to their own particular time as such. It's even the Pandavas during the when they sensed that Kali Yuga was upon them, they didn't like it. They knew it was time for them to go. This wasn't their time. They wouldn't be tolerating the nonsense that we have, or the people we have today as such. So yeah, Bhishma Dev, we wouldn't be tolerating the foolishness as such. He was wise, he was tolerant, but the stupidity of these days is far greater than the previous eras. So yeah, there's a reason why we don't have Bhishma Dev these days. Okay.
Thank you very
Is that
much.
okay,
That was really helpful.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Okay, final chance, and then we can wrap up. Bharti Mataji, you have unmuted. Do you want to
Hare
say
Krishna.
a question?
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Thank you.
Okay, so we can end here then. I hope everybody enjoyed these pastimes as much as I did. It was wonderful, and this chapter has been beautiful as well. And thank you to Ajaya Prabhu for explaining so nicely an overview. So Friday will continue on the next departure of Krishna from Hastinapur, I think it is, and we'll continue from there. So we'll unmute now and give 3 Gora Haris to Ajay Prabhu, please. So can we all unmute? Are we ready? I
Yeah.
see a lot of people still muted. So please unmute. Right. Gora Hari.
Gora
Gora
Hare,
Hari.
Gora
Gora
Hare,
Hari.
Gora Hare.
Gora Hari.
Thank you, Gora Prabhu. Thank you so much. We'll
Right.
catch up again soon. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you all
Hare
so much.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Radhe Radhe.